I'll call this meeting to order on Monday, November 18th, 2013. I want to welcome everyone. Somewhere out there is Deacon Mark Mitchell of the St. Thomas the Apostle Church, 4300 King Springs Road, who will come forward, give us an invocation, and also lead us in the pledge of flag. So would everyone please rise?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for the gift of this day and the gift of life. We ask that you guide and direct the work of our City Council as they deliberate the needs of our community, and to those who have come to express their views on this work. Give us the gifts of wisdom and understanding so that we may do your will for our community and do our part to bring the city of God to the city of man. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those folks that looking for a new church, just moved into town, I'm sure the folks at St. Thomas the Apostle Church love to have you. 4300 King Springs Road. Item 2 is the agenda changes. We've got a couple of, there's one item needs to be added to the agenda. Item D and E actually will be tabled. And once we get to that, if you are here for that issue, we'll let you make any public comment. This was requested, I think, last week. So this is the Jonquil Village redevelopment. Also need to add an item to the agenda, and it would be item 8C under the consent agenda, and that's to allow the use of Smyrna City Hall for a informational update Smyrna meeting on Wednesday. That'll be the 20th from 6 to 8. And so can I get a motion to suspend the rules to add an item to the agenda? Motion is second. All those in favor of the motion, please, if you got it set up where they can vote, Terry, please vote. That's approved. One more. Seven zero. All right, now that's the suspend the rules. And need a motion to add that item to the consent agenda. Okay, yeah. That would be 8C. Okay. Technology. All those in favor of the motion, can they do it now, Terry? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please vote. Ron Fennell, and it was seconded by Melanie, whoever. Okay. Just if everybody be calm, it might end up being 6 o'clock Wednesday night. That's approved 7-0. Okay. Those are only agenda changes. Under the mayor's report, I'll just notify folks that there will be an informational update Smyrna meeting on Wednesday from 6 to 8. Just let folks know what's going on and the latest on a lot of subjects that people have asked about. So here at this council chamber, 2800 King Street, 6 to 8 Wednesday night. Okay. We'll go into item 4, which is land issue, zonings, and annexation. Item A, Z13-015. It's a public hearing, zoning request Z13-015. rezoning from PVC Cobb County to MU conditional, Smyrna 81.95 acre tract, land lot 61, 171, 172, 174, 175, and 284 of the 18th District of Cobb County, Riverview Road and Nichols Drive, Jamestown, LP. Mr. Taylor, will you give us a background?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Actually, items A, B, and C on the agenda are all the same, related to the same topic. Jamestown is seeking approval to annex and rezone approximately 82 acres along Riverview Road and Nichols Drive from the Cobb County designation, which is Planned Village Community, to mixed use conditional, which would be our designation. They want to develop a mixed use community called Riverview Landing. The Riverview Landing development will include 155 single family units, 850 apartment units, 200 senior units, 332 townhome units, 165 condominium units, and 190,000 square feet of retail space. The subject property was approved for rezoning in Cobb County in 2011 and has received approval from the Atlanta Regional Commission, the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority through the Development of Regional Impact Review process. So they're requesting to annex and then to rezone it to the mixed-use conditional. Planning and Zoning heard the zoning request at the September 9th, 2013 meeting and made a recommendation for approval by a vote of 6-1. Staff recommends approval.
This is Mr. Ron Fennell's ward. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that's in opposition to or that would like to make any public comment concerning this zoning request? Anyone that wants to make a comment, either for or against, needs to come forward at this time and be sworn in. Mr. Cochran, I guess, yeah, and even if you just think you want to speak, come on and let's get you sworn in, and you don't have to.
Hey, Carl, good to see you.
All right, let's make sure that we got everybody.
For my conversation with Thursday.
Mr. Sams, anybody that
Don't mind if somebody-
needs to be sworn in? All right. Okay, if y'all just have a seat, then we'll call y'all.
Yeah.
It's in Mr. Fennell's ward. I'm going to get Mr. Fennell to, y'all can sit on the front row. This is not like church. No, I'm kidding. Y'all can sit wherever you want to. I mean, you can go wherever you want to. I'm just kidding. It's in Mr. Fennell's ward. Mr. Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been a 4-year process to get to this point, but less than 4 months for the city of Smyrna's involvement. I do want to make sure that the public knows that we've held a number of meetings to make sure the information about this particular development has been widely circulated. I held in the past month 4 meetings for public input and comment on this particular project. I've met with and discussed this project with countless others on the phone, in person, even with the CBIA. I've met with them on a couple of occasions over the course of the last year and a half to make sure that we're all good neighbors. And I think at the end of the day, for those areas not in the city of Smyrna that are in the impacted area, we want to make sure that we maintain a solid and a conversational relationship going forward. What we have here is a development of seminal importance in the life of the city of Smyrna. It's approximately 3,500 feet on the Chattahoochee River. We're going to talk a little bit more about the development aspects, but we're now in the public hearing phase, and we do want to hear your comments and input in this public hearing phase of the process, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the project. Mr. Mayor, the public hearing is now open. Is that correct?
What, are you going to make the presentation first?
Okay. I'm sorry. Let's have Ken make the presentation first on the project because it is quite involved. Many of you have seen it online. Many of you have seen it through newsletters and information. But to be sure, I think, Ken, you're going to present the details of the project, please.
Yes, sir. The summary has already been outlined by Mr. Taylor. It did go to the Planning Commission. It was recommended for approval with a 6-1 vote. It is also coming out of staff with a recommendation as well for approval. It is a mixed-use development. The agreement that we have with Cobb County with regard to annexation is that if we do not have an identical match, we put in the closest thing that we have, which in this case is an MU classification. The city doesn't have a planned village community designation. We do have a letter of non-objection from the county on this. Here's the vicinity maps. Left one is showing the zoning map. The right one is the future development map, and obviously they look the same because they're not in the city at this point in time. But that does give you an idea of where we're talking about. The main corridor there is Riverview. The area that's outlined in yellow is to be annexed into the city. This is the proposed development. Mr. Taylor read through what the uses were. It is a combination of residential and commercial development, ranging from single family and townhomes to senior units as well as multifamily units, with 190,000 square feet of commercial. This is more a colored rendition of the plan. Let me also pause here. The way Cobb County approved this is the way that we will, from a style, is that they approved it with the ability to have some flexibility in moving some of the uses around. So they are bound to the numbers. They're not necessarily bound to the exact location on the site plan. That's how Cobb approved it. I'm supportive of that technique to be a little more flexible in the exact location. It is set up to within pods so that things can move around within the pods. Riverview Road was approved in the 2011 SPLOST, at least to have road improvements. That's shown in sort of the purple-violet line there. Then it gets into the developed property. These are the renderings that were submitted to talk about how they're going to handle a walking trail along the river. The biggest concern that staff has after looking through everything is not so much rolling over the conditions, because we agree with the conditions at Cobb County, but it also has to do with the 100-year flood condition. So you will see at the end that staff has actually added another condition to just sort of tighten up some of the wording regarding how to handle the 100-year flood issue. As you can see, there is floodplain property not only on this development but also on the roadway as well. After the development and the normal cuts and fills and the techniques that they have to use to meet our requirements, what is up front up on the screen is the 100-year flood areas after the development goes in and the necessary steps that are taken. The areas that are highlighted here are to be adjusted according to that flood. The one that's on the left side of the screen is actually Nichols at Riverview intersection. That intersection is going to be realigned, and in that realignment they will raise that intersection out of the flood plain. The other area that's highlighted in the yellow box is the Dickerson intersection, and in that actually we are giving the developer a choice as to how to do that, but the requirement you will see is that they've got to provide permanent access off of Dickerson into the site that's above the 100-year flood, or they need to raise that intersection that's there. Just for council's information, City Engineer Eric Randall is here. Eric was heavily involved in working with Community Development Department as well as the developer on trying to address those flood issues. So if you have any questions, I'm sure Eric would be happy to address those. There's also a requirement about protecting the industrial areas that are there with industrial buffers. We have not changed those. These are identical to what Cobb County approved, and as such, we show them illustrated up front. These are just some of the samples of the proposed architecture. And this is a rendering. Actually, this rendering, I believe, is supposed to be taken from Nichols looking back towards the river. The sort of black area intersection there is with Riverview. Again, pictures of the subject property. Since this had been approved in Cobb County, the developer has started cleaning up the area, and that is reflective in these photos. This is, again, a zoning that exists today. So whether this property is annexed into the city of Smyrna or not, the development will occur. The question is, does it occur within the city or does it remain in the county? So as stated previously, both city staff and the Planning Commission reviewed the plan. We are both recommending approval of the zoning from PVC to MU with the same conditions approved by Cobb County at their meeting on March 15, 2011, plus the following condition. And that is that a permanent public ingress-egress access point from Dickerson shall be provided along the 100-year floodplain with access to and through the northern portion of the project prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy. Now, this is just the presentation part of this. You all have a lot more information in the packet that we provided that actually outlines all of the conditions that the county carried forward. There are some 80 conditions in that, and that is a culmination of all of the departments that fed into the county for that, and we've gone through and listed those out so that they are easy for you to read on that. But again, Planning Commission has recommended approval with the additional condition that I've outlined. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, Mr. Sudworth, at this time? Ken, thank you. I'm going to recognize the applicant. I know his attorney is here, Garvis Sams, and let Mr. Sams earn his money. And then we will hear from other folks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, members of the council. For the record, my name is Garvis Sams, and I represent the applicant and the property owner concerning this application, or these applications actually, for annexation and rezoning. I have with me tonight Mr. Walter Brown of Jamestown. He's the Senior Vice President for Development and Environmental Affairs. Also, Mr. Stephen Arms of Marthasville Development, one of the principal partners in connection with the development. Mr. Kenneth Wood with the Planners and Engineers Collaborative. He is our engineer, has been interfacing with Mr. Randall, your city engineer. And then some other representatives of Jamestown who are here tonight as well. These applications, as has been mentioned, were heard and recommended for approval by your Planning and Zoning Board back on September the 9th. Since that time, we've continued interfacing with the city staff, as you might have imagined. There's been a lot of tweaking, and Ken Sudworth makes it, from his perspective, sound simple, but we all know what Yeoman's job he and Mr. Martin have done in making certain that what you are seeing and what you have is identical to, but customized to, the city. So it's identical to the county steps, but customized to the city. Also, during the period of time since approval by the Planning Commission, Mr. Fennell, Councilman Ron Fennell, has introduced us to everyone in Christendom, and we appreciate that. And I'm saying that facetiously, but it's been an excellent opportunity for us to be able to interface with other members of the public that we might not have run into, members of civic clubs, and other people, both within and without the city. And it's been extremely beneficial from our part, because we've been able to brief the people that may not have otherwise known about the application. And it's been a great process. But that's the reason it's been continued on a couple of different occasions. And I didn't know if you had wondered if perhaps there was a problem. There was no problems. It was just simply a comprehensive approach by Councilman Fennell. As usual, Mr. Sudworth has done a good job of laying out the facts and covering the specifics. I'd like to cover some additional information if I could. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about Jamestown for those of you that don't know. And I mean, I'm not going to get into a long, detailed history, but Jamestown is a corporate citizen of Cobb County. They have offices on Cumberland Boulevard. Jamestown is an entity with a $9 billion portfolio and has developed properties such as One Times Square. You walk in their office and the big ball that drops every New Year's Eve, well, it's there. Well, maybe not the one they use this year, but the one they've used in the past. Avenue of the Americas, Chelsea Market in New York, which is very similar to Ponce City Market, which they're doing in the city of Atlanta. If you're familiar with where the O'Sears used to be on Ponce de Leon, and I think that became a part of the city hall. Well, Jamestown has purchased that. It's incredible if you go in there and see it. I know it has nothing to do with the zoning tonight, but it's 2 million square feet of property, under one roof. And what they're doing is similar to what have done in Chelsea Market, and it's going to be just an incredible addition to the Beltline in that part of the city of Atlanta. The property tonight is approximately 82 acres. There's 81.95 acres. The Jamestown folks, under the name of Riverview Industries, began assembling this back in 2007, 2008, spent $15 million to purchase the properties. On both sides of Riverview Road, as you have seen, contiguous into the south of the Oakdale communities, Oakdale Bluffs, the enclave at Oakdale Bluffs, soccer field that's in between the two subdivisions that you'll recall you rezoned a few years back. This is an unusual proposal in that neither the proposed annexation nor the rezoning seeks any changes to the proposal that was approved by the county Board of Commissioners. In fact, all we're requesting is simply a rezoning to an analogous classification, which is from PVC, the county, to MU, your classification, and simply that it be annexed into the city. It's approximately 2,345,000 square feet of a mixture of different components, which includes, of course, single-family residential, townhomes and condominiums, senior housing and apartments, retail and restaurants, institutional uses such as private and public schools, offices, self-service storage facilities. We even have a working garden and farming-related components as well. So what that comes up to, of the 2,300,000 square feet of space, is about 1,700 residential units and 190,000 square feet of commercial or non-residential space. Also, this is an unusual application or applications in the sense that I don't think there's ever been an application that has been more scrutinized than the one that you're hearing, entertaining, and considering tonight. In no certain order of either preference or chronological nature, we've received the approval and recommendation from the Upper Chattahoochee River Keepers, from the staff at the Atlanta Regional Commission and the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, Cobb County's professional staff, Cobb County's Planning Commission, Cobb County's Board of Commissioners, even a recommendation from the city of Smyrna during the time when this was pending in Cobb County. You as a city sent a letter of support to the county because you were part of that development of regional impact review process. We've also gotten the support of all the residential property owners up and down Riverview, and the residential property owners along Oakdale Road, particularly those in Oakdale Bluffs and the enclave at Oakdale. And of course, most recently, as has been mentioned, we have the support of your Planning and Zoning Board. Now, In the context of an annexation or rezoning, it's not unusual to find a developer who's here trying to escape certain strictures of the original rezoning or the original classification, or to find a developer who's trying to escape certain problems or to gain density is usually when you see somebody going from an unincorporated county to a city trying to gain density or seek leniency. This is not the case. We simply want the property transferred into the city, and what this will translate into is a development of a build-out value of $300 million in mixed-use development. But almost more importantly than the economic benefit, this operates as a strategic expansion to your city boundaries. And I venture to say there's never been a proposal that has been more closely scrutinized. I've mentioned the various agencies that have been involved, and the various governmental entities, but also your planning and zoning staff, your fire chief, your police chief, your public works director, your city engineer, your city attorney, and then those various counterparts of those individuals, as I said, on a regional level. So it's been scrutinized in the most minute way, under the minutiae, and also in the larger scheme, a broader scope. Along the way during this application, there's been some of you and of course staff that ask, well, why? Why would you want to come to the city? You're not even asking us for anything. You're not asking us for any kind of benefits or any kind of handouts or proposal or leniency or forgiveness or more density, or so what is it? What's up? There's got to be, it's got to be an agenda. Something's hidden. There's not, and believe me, your staff's looked hard and asked that question dozens of times. But the answer could be just as simple as you invited us in 2009 to come in, and invite us again in 2010, invite us again in 2011, invite us again in 2012. And when I'm saying that, I'm not saying any individual on this board, but you or someone instructed your economic development directors and your staff to invite us. But the primary reason is quite candidly probably more simple than that, and that is because the city has a vision, and our belief in the city has more to do with a belief in your vision in terms of a walkable, new urbanistic, upscale, family lifestyle. In terms of the other developments which you've considered and approved, and that your mayor, your staff, you as a city council and your planning and zoning board have led you to scrutinize time and again. And that's not a criticism of Cobb County, it's just a difference in vision. But vision often translates into reality, and in order for that to come to fruition, we think the city is the most appropriate place to do that. This development will translate into significant and positive economic and environmental impact. We've already spent, like the way I say we, like out of my checkbook, Jamestown has already spent, in addition to $15 million for purchasing the property, almost $2 million in infrastructure improvements along the banks of the Chattahoochee, cleaning up the property, putting in infrastructure such as detention ponds and the like as well. If you approve this tonight, what this will do is continue the halo or the positive effect that you began, we think, in the city with Oakdale Bluffs and the enclave at Oakdale Bluffs. I want to thank, first of all, the mayor and Councilman Fennell. Obviously, they've been clearly instrumental in this, but also your staff and your city planners who've had the patience to be able to sort through this very complicated, I'm not trying to make more of it than what it is, but it's a very complicated rezoning. So I want to thank all those folks, and like any good project, there's been an inordinate amount of scrutiny. Like I've said, I don't think I've ever been and presented a case where there's been more scrutiny than this one. Quite possibly there's questions that's been generated by what Councilman Fennell has said or what Mr. Sudworth has said in terms of our presentation, or perhaps what I've said. I've got, as I said, 3 individuals and additional folks. I can swear them in, or Scott Cochran can if they need to be, or I can entertain your questions, Mr. Mayor, at the appropriate time. But we do ask that you follow your Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation and the staff's recommendation, and that you as a mayor and council approve it tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions of Mr. Sams at this time? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Those folks that were sworn in that wanted to give any kind of testimony, please step forward, tell us who you are, where you live at, and the comments that you'd like to make.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Carl Westmoreland. My address is 34 33 Peachtree Road, Atlanta. I'm representing the Chattahoochee Business and Industrial Association. You heard it referred to earlier as CBIA. You'll hear from some of their folks in a few minutes. I appreciate the time that Mr. Fennell and Mr. Sutherland have spent with us as well in trying to understand the concerns that my clients have. The issue is not the approval of this. The issue is simply that it be annexed and zoned with conditions that ensure, as Mr. Fennell said, that they can be a good neighbor. And from our standpoint, a good neighbor with the industrial uses that have existed along Riverview for many years. Many of them are multi-generational businesses there. They were involved in 2011 zoning in Cobb County. You've already heard from Mr. Sudworth and Mr. Sams that those conditions are being carried forward. They really have three concerns, some of which are addressed in the conditions. First was the introduction of a substantial amount of residential development into an industrial area. I think that's addressed in your conditions as it was by Cobb in several of the conditions, 45, 46, 65, 67, 68, which provide buffers. They also provide for notice to prospective residential buyers in this development that they're moving into an industrial area. Another concern was the condition of Riverview Road, particularly the intersection with Dickerson. You heard Mr. Sudworth address the staff condition that one of those intersections be raised, the one at Dickerson. As the staff noted on page 7 of their report, the Cobb condition didn't really require the developer to raise it, so the staff has provided the alternative condition that he showed you, that they provide access out another way for the residents. That's been a concern over the years. I think most recently in 2009, maybe when with floods, and there were a lot of people stranded then. They're obviously more of an issue for the residential developers than the industrial developers. And that's in condition 19 that has been recommended. But the most important inherent conflict with the large number of tractor trailer trucks and other industrial traffic that's up and down Riverview, with the large number of residential trips that will be generated by this development. As Mr. Sam said, as you saw from the map, it's on both sides of Riverview Road, and that's going to be for them as well as for the industrial users a major thoroughfare. Now, your condition 22, which is carried over from Cobb, prohibits roundabouts. It says that intersections will accommodate the effective radius for tractor trailer movements, and that they will not make improvements which conflict with industrial traffic. That, I think, is the primary issue that would otherwise result in problems both for the residents, for the industrial users, and frankly for the city down the road if that's not adhered to. And you've got a committee set up which would include members of the CBIA with the city, with Cobb County, and with the developer to work toward ensuring that that doesn't happen. So, in summary, there are a lot of conflicts when you put this many residents down in what has been for many years an industrial area. I think that Cobb tried to address some of those with the notice and the buffers. You've carried most of those forward. And both sides are going to depend on the city to monitor and ultimately resolve these conflicts. Again, wanted to reiterate for you the concerns that we've expressed to Mr. Fennell and your staff, and ask that you incorporate those protections, because I think that there are inherent conflicts, and it's a matter of public safety, and ask that you expand if you'd like. You'll hear from members of the CBA in a few minutes, but wanted to reiterate the importance of those conditions. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Kenneth Patterson, and I live at 5031 Waterford Drive, Mableton, Georgia, 30126. My main concern is the road. What we have told this developer from the beginning, we're with you. We are pro-development. That's our job. The problem with it is that road is 2 and 3 and 4 foot below the 100-year flood elevation. We have asked that that road be raised 3 foot above the 100-year flood elevation, and not just a little crossing at Nichols or Dickerson. Raise that road up, do it right. ARC even recommended to put in a 3-lane road down through there, and we want that 3-lane road. We'd like to see it with a center turn lane. That do nothing but benefit us. If the road is raised, it benefits everybody long range. It plays into ARC's view about what should happen with Riverview as a cut-through road, and get some of the traffic off of Discovery, not Discovery, but Oakdale. Get some of the traffic off of that, so it benefits everybody in the community. I run between 3,000 and 5,000 trucks a month up and down that road. I don't want anything to impede the flow of that traffic, because all it's going to do is kill me. Your citizens are not going to like me because I am noisy, dusty, and dirty. You have any questions, I'll answer them.
I like your vest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Charles Bolash. I'm a resident of Oakdale Bluffs, 6205 Indianwood Circle, if you need that. First of all, I fully support the annexation of this property into the city of Smyrna. And I agree with some of the comments by the business owners that there are possible conflicts there, and hope that as part of this process they will emphasize to their employees, especially their drivers, that there will be pedestrians, cars, bikes, etc. Down there, because if you walk down there now, you do take your life into your hands if you're on foot, and part of that is there is no sidewalk or anything like that down there. And I would suggest and implore the city that with this type of expansion and annexation, that it's time that we give the 30126 side of Smyrna a name other than 30126 side of Smyrna. Perhaps start referring to it as the Riverline community, even though that's a little stretch when you go to Vinings Estates. But we need a name there, or better yet, we need a new Smyrna zip code. But realizing that's probably not going to happen anytime soon, a name for the neighborhood would be fantastic, that you could start referring to it, and for marketing purposes of the people, and I'm a real estate agent, and for those who sell on that side of the community, that we can start referring to that side of the community. Thank you.
My name is Clint Stamps. My family owns 28 acres on Riverview Road on both sides. It butts from the river back until Oakdale Bluffs, which will be on Veterans Memorial Bankhead Highway side of this project. Like Ken said, I'm also the president of the Chattahoochee Business Industrial Association. And first of all, I'd just like to go on record by saying we haven't disputed that Green Street in this development is an amazing development. Is beautiful. The thing is we've been down there since 1952. I've got presently 7 companies on the 28 acres. It employs hundreds of individuals that take paychecks home to their families. So first of all, I'd like to go on record by saying on my 28 acres, I have no intentions. I was nicely invited to come into the city of Smyrna, but being that it was industrial, I had to turn you down and say, you know, I got companies down there, and so I'm not going anywhere. So if the neighbors come in, I'm going to be calling all of y'all with the complaints, and I'm going to say, you know, you knew we were here. And so I'm on record for saying that. I also would like to go on record by saying Riverview, I've actually been on Riverview Road 3 different occasions in a boat floating down the river. So not only fixing a little portion, like a little trail in case the floods do come by, one end of Riverview Road to the other end of Riverview Road need to be designed so it all is out of the floodplain. You're going to put 1,700 homes down in a floodplain, and you know, I'd hate to know that my daughters would move into an area unknowing that there was in the floodplain and buy a home or rent a condo or or rent an apartment and buy a condo in the floodplains. And when we're all sitting here talking about we're going to have a little trail to get them out during an emergency, or if those elderlies in those old folks' homes can't get out and the emergency vehicles can't get back in, those are 1,700 homes. And it's going to take a 3-lane road to get them in and out of that development. Not Dickerson. Dickerson is a little. It's not even curbed. I mean, it's a narrow road, and it would never adequately contain 1,700 families trying to get out of an area. So basically, it's just in all the companies that we also have in the CBIA, which is roughly about 28 companies, no one has the intentions of wanting to leave. So in other words, if we can find some way to coincide with each other to make sure that we're protected, make sure the developers are protected. This gentleman that spoke before me, we do have a tremendous amount of truck traffic. So we have 100,000 ton cranes going up and down Riverview Road daily, tractor trailers. These people have been there 20, 30, 40, 50 years. If it was a Home Depot moving in at Northside and 75 in Howell Mill, the neighborhoods would be coming in and opposing that. This is the complete reverse of what we normally see in the newspaper. This is residential moving into what has been an industrial park from one end to the other. We all located in this area because it was undesirable. We bought it. Where we had been deemed, in a way, ugly. We're not office parks. We're not parks. It's kind of hard to disguise cranes and tractor trailers and this, that, and the other. It's not really the beauty of the city of Smyrna, what we do. So I just wanted to go on record by saying the CBIA doesn't oppose this. It's just that we need, if y'all decide, you men and women decide to annex us into the city of Smyrna, you've got to remember, us, that, we also have a reasoning and a desire to be on Riverview Road. So, that's all we're asking. Protect us and protect the future the future investors in this development. One day, Green Street and everybody will be gone, and it'll be the homeowners. So the decisions have got to be made now that will protect those future families that are going to be moving in that neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Anyone else that was sworn in? Okay, are there any other questions? If not, then this will conclude the public hearing portion. Is that correct, Mr. Cochran? Item B is 2013-398, annexation request, 100% of owners requesting annexation. Ordinance 2013-12, 81.95 acres in 3 tracts of the 18th District, 2nd Section, Cobb County. 18.96 acres of parcel 1 in land lots 175 and 176. 36.563 acres of parcel 2, land lots 61, 171, 172, and 175, and 26.420 acres of parcel land lots 61, 172, 174, 175, and 284, total of 81.950 Riverview Road and Nichols Drive, Riverview Landing. Mr. Cochran, is that also a public hearing for that? Okay, it's not for that. So, Mr. Taylor, you want to give us a quick background on that?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. I think the title pretty much says exactly what it is. You have 3 different ways that you can annex property in the city. 100% of owners requesting annexation is one of them, and perhaps usually the easiest one. So this would be annexing the 81.95 acres in the 3 tracts that were mentioned, and as presented this evening.
Mr. Ron Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As was stated at the public hearing, there is no formal objection from any party to the annexation that has been registered in the public hearing, in my meetings, in the meetings with the county, or the planning staff, or the Planning and Zoning Board. So with that, I hereby, with pride, urge this council to approve the request by Jamestown for annexation by approving let's see. Z, is it 2013-398? I move approval.
Motion second, and the effective date will be December 1st. Is that good? Okay.
Well, the effective date for ad valorem taxes would be December 31st. And for all other purposes, it'll be December 1st.
Okay. All right. I have motion second to annex this property into the city and it become part of Ward 7. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 7-0. Item C, 2013-400, final vote rezoning request, Z13-015, rezoning from PVC Cobb County to MU conditional Smyrna 81.95 acre tract, land lots 61, 171, 172, 174, 175, and 284 of the 18th District of Cobb County, Riverview Road and Nichols Drive, Jamestown, LP. Mr. Ron Fennell.
Mr. Mayor, we've heard the background, we've heard the plans, we've heard the specifics of the plan, the walkability, the access to the Chattahoochee River, the partnership and vision for the future of South Smyrna, at least we're calling it that at the moment, will change forever as a result of this investment by a Fortune 500 company in Smyrna and believing in Smyrna. And with 3,500 feet on the Chattahoochee River, it is my pleasure to move approval of 2013-400. I move approval.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Ms. Anola, you going to say something?
Yeah, I'd just like to say something real quick. This has been a big week for the Smyrna area, and I'm not just talking about the Braves. I think that that's obviously is tremendous news, but we don't really know at this early in the game, so to speak, what that means for the city. This annexation and this rezoning I think it's the biggest thing that I've been involved in in the 6 years I've been with the city. $300 million in development is a big deal. It's something that we can quantify at this point in time, and I just wanted to thank my colleagues on the council and everyone on city staff for all of the scrutiny that they have given this development. That scrutiny, the time, the many, many hours and the conversations that have gone into this are the reason why I am comfortable supporting this. I'm appreciative of the input of the CBIA. Putting residences in areas that have heretofore been industrial is not unprecedented in the city. I think that it speaks a lot to Smyrna becoming an increasingly desirable residential area, and I think that the concerns that were cited tonight are concerns to which we are, as a city, very sensitive, and I am very comfortable supporting this tonight.
Mr. Lanford.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to support this, too. I've done a lot of due diligence on this on my own. I've talked to one of the county commissioners. I've talked with our staff. I've talked with Mr. Sams, representing the applicant. We've talked as a council. Basically, nothing is changing from what Cobb County spent a lot of time and effort researching and doing 2.5 years ago, with a few exceptions, exceptions being some additional stipulations and requirements added by the city. The most important one to me, and the one that in my own mind I had to get a good understanding and feeling for before I would support it, had to do with public safety. When, not if, when there is another flood along the river, are these people going to be able to get in and out of their homes safely and their businesses? Can emergency services provide police, fire protection, emergency medical response in and out of this development despite the flooding, and without having to rely on an outside agency to do it for us? And as I've explored that, the answer that keeps coming back, and to which I am satisfied, is yes, the city can handle that. It doesn't mean it won't be an issue if it happens. Flooding is never a happy issue, and it's always a difficult issue. But can we safely do this development, have it in the city, and protect the people that will live, work, and be there? And I'm convinced in my mind the answer is yes. I appreciate the efforts the applicant has made to ensure that that is the case. There's nothing more important for us than ensuring the public safety and good and health, safety and welfare. I think with a lot of effort and work by the applicant, by the city staff, by Mr. Fennell in particular, that issue in my mind has been addressed. I also appreciate the comments made by the members of the CBIA. We want to be good neighbors. We already are neighbors, basically. We want to be viewed as good neighbors, and we hope that our actions will cause you to think of us as good neighbors. So don't ever hesitate if there are issues or questions or concerns to talk to us as a neighbor, because we all want the best for everybody. We all share a lot of the same things. We're all part of Cobb County. Good, bad, or whatever, we're all tied in to whatever happens together. We might as well make it work for everybody, and I think we can do that. I appreciate this annexation and rezoning, and I will support it. Thank you.
Mr. Corky Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief. I think that this annexation is very good for the city. And I want us all to be very aware. We've had these gentlemen come up and speak from the CBI, and I think we need to heed the warnings that they've brought before us. And 10 years from now, the council that follows some of us, or some of us that are still here, need to be aware of this and remember this, because we will get complaints from some of these citizens after this. And just remember that that these people were there 60 years ago, and just keep in mind that that we were cautioned about some of these things that are going to happen, and just recall that this evening, we were warned about it. I do support this. I think it's a great annexation for the city, and I think in the long term it'll be something that's very beneficial for us. But like I say, with that, I do support it. I look forward to having y'all as neighbors and parts of the city of Smyrna.
Anybody else?
I do want to thank the members of the team from Jamestown, their attorney, and most importantly, our staff, who spent countless hours working through a lot of the details, and Walter Brown specifically for allowing me to trudge him from public meeting to public meeting to public meeting in order to make sure that those folks in the community that I promised they would hear the details of this plan before we ever voted on it were allowed to get that opportunity. So thank you, and thank you to the staff.
And I'm amazed that after all those meetings, they still wanted to come in. I'll just say there's only been two other rezonings where I can remember that business owners came in and say, look, we think this is a good development, but don't forget, I got a manufacturing business right down the road. And so when these new homes come in, no joke, don't come down there and tell me to be quiet. So, and we understand that y'all's businesses are there, and we appreciate y'all coming and making the comments and going on the record. I think it'll take 10 years to get this development done. We're excited about it. We think it's a great project, and we think it'll work. But thank y'all for coming and putting things on the record so we'll know. Any other discussion? If there's none, then I'll declare. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 7-0. Item 4D, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this is going to be tabled. It's public hearing zoning request. It deals with 11.0 acre tract at Jonquil Village. Is there anybody here that came for this issue that did not know it was going to be tabled? Because if those that are here that would like to make any public comment, I'm going to allow you to do that. I want to say that the meeting is the next meeting will be December the 2nd. But if you're here and you'd like to make any public comment concerning that, I'll be glad to let you do that at this time. Scott, you need to swear him in? Okay, that's all right. Okay. just tell us who you are, where you live, and any kind of comment that you'd like to make.
And while he's coming up, if I could just say for the record, this is not part of the public hearing. There's a zoning hearing that's scheduled for a specific time, and that'll be held at the time that it's scheduled for. This is just basically taking input as an accommodation.
James Conyers, 3244 Colliergate Court for 12 years. Just simply put, I and a bunch of my neighbors who did not know about the change are against an apartment complex, and you can add the fluff of a small commercial addition to it, but we're against that in that location. And again, I've seen this happen in other situations where we're tried to be outlasted, so to speak, tabling, deferring, etc. And it looks like that's what's happening right now, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Anyone else that is here like me? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Sandra Chase. I live at 1189 Powder Spring Street. I don't have a specific comment with regard to the development, pro or con. My comment has to do with the delight I have in walking in downtown Smyrna. Okay. My comment is directed at the joy I have in walking every day in this neighborhood with my dog. And I have some concerns as I walk over in Williams Park and try to come back across the street. I think that whatever council decides with respect to that tract of land and what to do with it, they should give some thought and perhaps some planning into having another pedestrian bridge like there is on Spring Road, because to link these communities, whether it's on this east or west side of Atlanta Road, there's not going to really be good community if you have to take your life in your hands running across Atlanta Road. I mean, I wait for the signal, but the people coming across who have been waiting either for the train and then the very long light have a very hard time waiting for me to get across the street with the dog. So I sort of gun it on the yellow light and run across the street, and I think a pedestrian bridge would help integrate the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that was here like make any comment concerning this zoning issue? Okay. All right, that's in Ms. Terry Anulowich's ward district. Terry, you want to make the motion?
Yes, I would. Before I do so, I want to make one quick comment, though. There have been a lot of conversations that have been taking place on the issue of the proposal for Jonquil Village over the past few weeks. I don't want there to be any confusion, because there was the Planning and Zoning Board did they voted on their recommendation for this issue last week. Their vote is a recommendation, but it still goes before the council. It's dismaying to hear that people think that people are trying to drag things that are at last by tabling. This was requested to be tabled by the developer. And in a lot of ways, it's good because it gives people more opportunity to continue the conversation and the dialogue that has been taking place around Smyrna on this proposal. But again, the P&Z board makes a recommendation to the council, and then the council votes independently. And that vote is going to be taking place here in this room at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, December 2nd. That's 2 weeks from tonight. So Mayor Bacon mentioned the information session that's going to cover several issues. It's going to talk about SPLOST issues, but the bulk of it, I think it's safe to say, is going to be a conversation and information about the proposed development for Jonquil Plaza. So I really do encourage anyone who can to attend that meeting this Wednesday, November 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. If you can't make it, it is going to be broadcast live on Charter Cable. Again, you'll be hearing more about this throughout the evening, but it will be broadcast live on Charter Channel 19. It will also be available on demand and live on the internet through the Granica site, and there will be emails to that from the city Facebook page as well as from the city web page. You can access it on demand through your smartphone or a tablet through Granicus. So even if you can't come and participate in the meeting, you can watch it live, you can watch it on demand, and you can also email any questions or comments that you have to an email address that is updatesmyrna@smyrnaga.gov. Again, 2 words smushed together, updatesmyrna@smyrnaga.gov, and I'll be mentioning that again in my comments towards the end of the evening. But that's what I have to say about that right now. And at this time, I would like to move to table item 4D. This is item Z13-014, zoning request Z13-014. This is the zoning amendment request to modify the currently approved site plan and building elevations for the Jonquil Village redevelopment project. It is an 11.03 acre tract, land lots 559 and 594. This is the northeast quadrant of the intersection of Atlanta Road and Spring Road. It's brought forth to us by Branch Capital Partners, LP. The request to table is until the meeting on December 2nd, 2013. This is requested by the applicant.
We have a motion to table. And a second. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. Approved 7-0. We'll hear that on December the 2nd. Item E, Z13018 is also a public hearing zone request. This is for the property at the intersection of East-West Connector and South Cobb Drive, Columbia Properties. Is there anybody here that's for that issue? And again, both these were tabled at the request of the applicant. I'll ask that Mr. Wade Lineker, represents that district, make that motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I understand the comment my good friend Mr. Conyers made about tabling things to wear down opposition. I certainly hope that's not the case with either one of these. Have no reason to think it is. And if I did, I'd speak out against it and vote against it. In this case, item E, Z13-018, the applicant, Sprouts Farmers Market, is requested some additional time to provide design drawings for their store and site plan to the developer, Columbia Properties, who owns the site, and therefore to get them to our staff for an appropriate review prior to the council considering and voting on the issue. And it's as simple as that. That's all it is. So I move that item Z13-018, the zoning request for a zoning amendment to modify the current approved site plan and building elevations on a 4.369 acre tract and land lot 620 and 677 located at the southwest quadrant of the intersection of the East-West Connector and South Cobb Drive, owned by Columbia Properties Incorporated, be tabled until the City Council meeting of December 2nd, 2013.
Second.
Motion second, table. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 7-0. We'll hear that on Monday, December the 2nd, 2013. Item 5 is previous license. We do not have any tonight. Item 6 is formal business. We have none. Item 7 is commercial building permits. We have one, A2013-405, issuance of a commercial building permit to J.E. Dunn Construction for the construction, manufacturing, building of Consultant Vest, Inc. at 600 Highlands Parkway. Mr. Taylor, the background.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Consultant Vest Incorporated continues to expand their footprint down on the Highlands Parkway area, and they are actually coming to us and asking for a permit to allow J.E. Dunn Construction to build what amounts to Building C down there. It is a 1,109,836 square foot manufacturing building with an estimated cost of construction of $1.9 million. Staff recommends approval.
This is in Mr. Ron Fennell's district, although it has nothing. Yeah, it's got Mr. Fennell. Mr. Ron Fennell.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of this item. This is a continued expansion of the business as approved by City Council in the previous council, and this is Building C of the ABC continuum.
Motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 7-0. Item 8 is consent agenda. Mr. Taylor, will you please read the consent agenda for council's approval?
Okay, we have 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Item A is an approval of the November 4th, 2013 Mayor and Council meeting minutes. Item B is to award RFP 14-008 for a classification and compensation study to the lowest bidder, the Archer Group, for $14,860, and authorize the mayor to sign any related documents. And item C is to approve the use of the council chamber for a public information meeting for this Wednesday evening, November 20th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Hear a motion, we approve the consent agenda. we get a second? Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 7-0. Committee reports will start tonight. Mr. Ron Fennell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I see Police Chief back there. If David Lee could come forward, please. I will just say that the DUI arrests have been consistently strong under the leadership of our Police Chief, and I want to say for the public's standpoint, thank you very much for helping keep our roadways safe.
Thank you, sir. And I appreciate that comment. I'll give that number once again, and this was as of approximately 30 days ago, but we started the DUI task force back in March with 2 officers, and already they've made approximately 244 DUI arrests, but which is a pretty phenomenal amount when you talk about with 2 officers. It's not uncommon for them to sometimes make between 3 and 4 arrests a night. So they're very diligent out there. They're doing an outstanding job. A couple things I wanted to report about tonight, kind of bragging on some of our people. Captain Tony Leonard just recently graduated from the Southern Police Institute in Louisville, Kentucky, from the Administrative Officers course. This is a 12-week course, and there was a total of 46 students in that class, and he received the highest academic score. So we're very proud of him, and he represented the city of Smyrna well. Detective Keith Sherwood recently graduated from the National Forensic Academy, which if you're a CSI type fan, this is all that good stuff. This is a 10-week course that he went through, and it covers all areas of crime scene investigations, from things even as low as looking at tire tracks to blood pattern analysis. He's taken his test for his national certification from the International Association for Identification. This course that we sent him through is the best in the nation. The National Forensic Association has partnered with the University of Tennessee. I just got a couple other things I want to talk about real quick. This Halloween, we put extra patrols out on the roadways. In fact, several of us on the command staff were out there driving through neighborhoods with our blue lights on, getting out. And I have to admit, sometimes I felt like I had paparazzi when I'd stop, talk to the children, get my photograph taken. So it was a good time, and we got a lot of great feedback from a lot of the citizens. One of the things I reported on a while back is that we were having a women's self-defense class for the females that works for the city, and they had their first class on Wednesday, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback. Now, that portion of the class was all classroom, and then the next class they get a little bit more hands-on. Of course, we're not going to be flipping people around, but giving them some very basic techniques that could help them in case there's ever need for it, which we hope there's not. Then the last thing I wanted to report on, the police department, we finished our strategic plan. Now we have to put it in report format, but as soon as we get that completed, we'll be sending a copy of that out to everyone on the council. Any questions? Okay,
very good.
Thank you
We
very
commended the department on that high visibility public presence during Halloween at last meeting, but thank you again. That was a brilliant idea, and I think the families who were walking their kids out that night felt even safer than they already do typically in Smyrna, and they were most appreciative of seeing all of you out there. So thank you again. That was a great idea.
Thank you.
Also want to invite Acting Chief Roy Acree to join us, please. You're aware that City of Smyrna has been selected to be a city featured through FEMA with the Prepare-a-thon we have coming up in the springtime. There's preparation work underway these days through a team, and I want to let him tell you about what's going on there and what's next in that continuum.
Thank you, Mr. Fennell. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As you're all aware, the City of Smyrna hosted its very first inaugural Citizen Fire Academy that started just a few weeks ago. And I have with me here tonight some soon-to-be Citizen Fire Academy inaugural class graduates. We have Randy and Claudia Rowe, Bo Chatham, Barb Allen, and Philip Hannaford here with us tonight. The rest of the members weren't able to make it, but I wanted to invite them here tonight to give us an opportunity to bring them forward and tell them that we appreciate their commitment and their diligence, and publicly thank them for what they've done and the excuse me, and the commitment that they've made with the Citizen Fire Academy. So thank you all very much. They'll be graduating this Thursday night. So.
Do they get to go up in the big truck?
Oh, yes. They just to kind of give you, it's intended to be an in-depth look at public safety from our perspective, fire and emergency management. They have received an in-depth overview of the fire department. They have been up in the ladder truck. They've messed with hose and tools and equipment. They've learned about fire safety education, our breathing apparatus, search and rescue techniques, extrication, technical rescue tools and equipment, EMS training, and the incident command system. So,
I'd love to hear from anyone that would like to say anything about the, what all y'all done. You're not going to get in trouble.
Bashful. Jump in there. Bo will tell you.
The smoke-filled room, really neat. Everybody liked going up in the ladder truck. We were trying to figure out how to get do-overs, so we could do that again. Smyrna's great view of Smyrna when you're up in the truck. One of the things that we missed out on is we were hoping to get the helicopter for the life flight thing. But anyway, overall. Fascinating. We did not get to slide down the pole. You've got them, but you don't use them. So, anyway, meeting the firefighters, seeing their their life and their how they're responding to the needs of the community, coming up with the ideas of the LRTs versus the BRTs, the little red trucks versus the big red trucks, to help save us money and to respond faster to medical emergencies. Fascinating, very just a wealth of information, and we're tickled pink to have been able to do that.
We also wanted to add that not only were we impressed with the level of education and professionalism within the fire department, especially when it came to the majority of them being paramedics, but how resourceful our first responders are to be able to build an entire fifth fire station without the use of taxpayer dollars, and we thought that was brilliant.
I'm going to hear from the ladies.
I just wanted to say one thing to that one gentleman. Don't feel bad about that fire pole remark. When we opened fire station number 5, that was the one thing the children all said. They don't have a fire pole.
As one of the females in the class, I thoroughly enjoyed every section of the class. I learned so much. All I know is the firemen in the big red truck coming and put out fires. There's so much more to the department than that, and like my husband said, it was just a great experience for us.
It's amazing that it's not like it used to be when they had fire trucks that put out fires. They do so much more. Try holding your breath for a couple of minutes, and that's how quick they get to your house. It's amazing. So.
Well, again, and I just wanted to publicly invite them tonight in an effort to thank them for again their commitment. It's like we said, it's a 9-week commitment. It takes an interested, civic-minded type citizen to stick it out for that long. So we appreciate them, and they've done a great job. So thank you all very much.
Thank y'all so much. Do we really have a helicopter that I didn't know about?
We do not.
We do have one, don't you?
We want one. We just don't have one. No. I believe it was the 7th week. The module was for the whole night was EMS training, and one thing that our EMS director, Damon Wisdom, hoped to be able to do was to be able to get an air ambulance on the scene, and they logistically just weren't able to make that happen. I think it was based off of some demand that they had for the night. They had them lined up, but then they weren't able to make it. So But Councilman Fennell mentioned our partnership with FEMA. It's called Ready Smyrna's Prepare-a-thon. People can access information on our website, readysmyrna.com. Again, 2 words scrunched together. I like the way that she put that when she said that earlier about the website. So 2 words scrunched together, readysmyrna.com, where they can go on and continue to learn about this preparedness initiative. But quite simply, it's encouraging not only our individual citizens but our business owners to have a plan of action in case there is a disaster, and to actually exercise that plan. And through the website, through this council meeting, through other forms of media, we'll be advertising and marketing the different types of things that we're going to be doing from month to month, leading up to a preparedness fair, if you will, in March. Even the tie-in with the alumni with the Citizen Fire Academy and the Citizen Police Academy, along with the Public Safety Foundation, our Citizen Corps Council is going to be looking to those individuals as resources to help us for volunteers when we do have monthly events, when we do reach out to our community, excuse me, with these preparedness initiatives. So we appreciate them very much. And the last thing that I had was that, of course, Thanksgiving is next week, and wanted to remind all of our citizens to enjoy the holidays, and especially those like myself that love to indulge in the fried turkey. But please keep in mind that that can be dangerous. I had just a few tips. Please, if you're going to use a turkey fryer, place the fryer itself on a flat surface outside, never under a covering, never in a garage, or even under anything like a deck, outside with nothing overhead. Please keep children and pets away from the fryer. Keep the fryer in full view while the burner's on. Make sure that there's at least 2 feet between the actual flame and the propane tank that feeds the flame. Completely thaw and dry the turkey before adding it into the hot oil. And when you drop the turkey into the hot oil, that's when that's when it's really going to bubble up a lot. So drop it in really slow. Never move the cooker or the pot while it's in use, and allow the oil to cool completely before removing. And that was all that I had. Were there any questions?
Wouldn't it just be easier to go someplace and just pick the turkey up?
I do not disagree with that, which is exactly what we'll be doing. Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, I want to thank you, the fire department, and the police department for weighing in on that massive development project, making sure that the public safety component was addressed before this council had a chance to look at it. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for what you and the firefighters and the police officers do every day to make us safe in Smyrna. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Wade Lineker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Neither HR nor court services have a report tonight. I do just want to mention a couple things. City engineer and I will be meeting this Friday at 3 p.m. with the folks at Vintage Square, trying to help them with some issues and concerns as that new neighborhood finishes construction and builds out. The big news this week in Smyrna has obviously been the Braves move, and we've heard from a couple others up here already. There's not a whole lot of information that we know about that. I've had a lot of people calling and emailing me saying, what about the Braves? What's going to be this, or what about that? And my answer is, we don't really know. To my knowledge, we haven't had any direct communication with the Braves organization, although a number of those people within the organization do live in Smyrna. And so I'm confident that as the smoke and dust clears and things settle down, we'll start to have some of those conversations. Because the site that's, everybody's reading about and hearing about is not in Smyrna, but it's directly adjacent to our city limits. So who will be affected more than any other city besides Atlanta losing them? Smyrna. And at the right time, certainly we need to have a conversation. The obvious concerns I'm hearing from residents focus on 2 things, two big concerns. Volume of traffic, and whether that traffic after a Braves game is sober or not. And the concern about that volume and DUI traffic coming through our community. That's going to be an issue that we need to address. How we're going to address it, I think it's too soon for us to know, because, this news is still developing. And so if you've had that thought or that question, so have we, so have all your neighbors and friends. We all have that question. If we've got to put on extra police officers 80 days a year to handle that traffic, who's going to pay for that? That's a question I have. The answer is I don't know yet. But over the next couple of years, I hope we can develop those kinds of answers and manage whatever's going to happen. Whatever's going to happen is not going to be based on whether we like it or don't like it. It's going to happen or not happen based on outside forces and factors. What we need to do is to do the best thing we can to manage that impact on our community, to protect our community, to take advantage of what's going to happen in a positive way within our community and not be overwhelmed by negative impacts, if there are any, and such as they may be. So, you know, I've heard your concerns. You know, I think a number of people are excited about it for a lot of reasons. I think there are some concerns about it, and what you should expect from us is to try to, again, maximize the positive impacts and minimize the negative impacts. What does that mean? Again, it's too early to tell, but I promise you we'll be looking at that and working on that with the appropriate people at the appropriate time. The acting fire chief mentioned we're coming up on the Thanksgiving holiday, and beyond that, you know, the December holidays. I know a number of Ward 6 neighborhoods do a lot of things to help folks during the holiday season, and since the meeting started tonight, I got a message from actually our city administrator's neighborhood, Old Vinings Mill. They do a holiday hygiene drive every year. They put together kits with shampoo and toothpaste and toothbrushes and soap and deliver them to Must Ministries. Last year they contributed over 100 kits to Must Ministries to help homeless folks and people in need. I can go through a whole bunch of other Ward 6 neighborhoods, and they're doing canned food drives and clothing drives and other things. And that's what makes Smyrna a wonderful place to live. We have that kind of neighborhood feeling. We have that kind of spirit. We have the ability to help our neighbors who are needier and less fortunate than us. And Smyrna folks don't shy away from that. It really makes me proud to live in Smyrna and be associated with a community that has that kind of heart. And that's a blessing. Those of us who have should share with those who don't in an appropriate way. I just want to wish everyone a wonderful Thanksgiving, one of my favorite holidays of the year. No matter what our circumstances, no matter where we've been or where we're going, we have things that we should be thankful for in our lives. And next week is a good time to remember those blessings and share them with friends and family. So I wish each of you the very best for the Thanksgiving holiday and the holidays beyond. With that, I yield.
Ms. Susan Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to have Travis Landrum from the Assistant Director of Parks and Rec come give us a report, please. Thanks.
Greetings, Mayor Bacon, Administrators Eric Taylor, women, men of City Council. It is my pleasure to present to you tonight on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department and in the absence of Mr. Steve Ciaccio. I have a small report tonight. Wanted to highlight some of the upcoming events that we have for the department. As you can see throughout downtown, you'll see the decorations going up as we prepare for the Home for the Holidays event. Of course, this annual event, I haven't seen it myself, but I hear it's going to be a beautiful event, and we'll be prepared for that with the tree lighting and everything coming up. Also wanted to highlight an event on December 20th. Last year, it was the toy drive for the department, but this year it will be known as the coat drive out at Bronner Park. We'll be preparing for that as well, and we're also preparing the decorations out at Bronner Park that, from what I hear, again, will be beautiful, so we'll try and keep that going this year as well. I just wanted to give an update. If you went throughout the city over the weekend, you may have seen some of the barricades from the 11K race that took place Saturday morning. The 11K village-to-village race turned out to be a huge success. Zone 5 was great to work with in putting on that event. They had over 500 participants sign up for it. So from what it appeared to be over the weekend, it'll be a great event, and hopefully it'll become an annual thing. But it was a great turnout and a huge success. Any questions?
Why do you like Smyrna? You come to us from Columbus. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think if you let my dad tell it, I think by golly, I've gotten it right. So from what I see, hopefully this will be the first of many city council meetings, and I definitely love it.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Travis, will there be the Santa house this year at Aunt Fanny's cabin?
From what I hear with the plans with Patty over at Wolf, they will have that up there, so we will definitely have that in preparation for the event. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Travis. You did good.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the lighting of the tree.
I am too.
It'll be awesome.
Well, thankfully, my daughters were asked to be some of the kids on with Santa, so
Oh, neat.
I'm definitely looking forward to it so they can spaz out and have a good time. So looking forward to it.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask Mary Moore to give us a report from the library.
Good evening. As many people have mentioned tonight, Thanksgiving is coming up, and we have a special afternoon of fall and Thanksgiving crafts tomorrow afternoon at 3:30. It's a make and take event, so you can bring the whole family and stop by and make a fun craft. Thanksgiving is also National Family History Day, and that was started by the Surgeon General, but genealogists have taken this idea and really encouraged people to take the opportunity of family gatherings, such as Thanksgiving, to learn more about your family history. So if your family indulges in a little family history research, I really encourage you to come to Smyrna Library. We have an excellent genealogical collection. It's a huge collection of print and microform family history resources. It focuses on the Southeast with a special emphasis on Virginia. That's what we're known for among genealogists. So please come to the library. Besides the print and the microforms, we also have access to Ancestry.com through our Galileo subscription. So please come make use of those wonderful resources. Lastly, I'd like to happily announce an additional service that we have started at the Smyrna Public Library. It launched today, and we are the first library in Georgia to offer the Hoopla digital service to our patrons. It's very similar to services like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, things like that, and it's downloadable movies, TV shows, music, and audiobooks, and customers can check out up to 5 items a month. And I have some brochures for you guys.
And what's that called again?
It's called Hoopla. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. And I wanted to make an acknowledgement of the choir that sang at the wonderful Veterans Day ceremony on Monday. The choir was from Belmont Hills Elementary School in Ward 5, and they did a wonderful job. With that, I yield.
Mr. Corky Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see Virginia Davis out there with Keep Smyrna Beautiful for a report this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We hope Ann is enjoying her time away from the office this week. So I'll give you a brief report, as brief as can be, because it's been a very busy month. Starting with the IBM Day of Service, which was on October 25th, and 153 volunteers graced our community with 630 hours of volunteer service. And that service was delivered to schools and public spaces as well. So we're very grateful to have them as a partner to improve our city. Also, we held our Rivers Alive event that was on November 2nd. It was held at the Chattahoochee National Park at Acres Mill. And again, an unbelievable amount of work was done during that day. We had over 70 volunteers from the National Park Service, the Keep Marietta Beautiful, Kennesaw State students were there, Light of the World Church, Southern Polytechnic University was there, and Metro Ambulance was just on hand just to make sure nothing went wrong, and it didn't. We had a great evening, a great day. We cleaned the creek, the Rottenwood Creek area, and Rottenwood Creek leads from Smyrna down to the Chattahoochee, and it's amazing the amount of debris that we were able to pick up on that day. We also cleaned trails and cleaned the parking lot. The parking lot had been overrun with weeds, and our volunteers got it spruced up, and it's looking great. And just to remind people that if you do fry your turkeys, that we want your used cooking oil, and that can be taken to the recycling center. Also coming up, I know Christmas seems like it's a far ways away, but it's really not. If you're planning on getting a live tree, we would love to have you recycle that tree at Bring One for the Chipper, and that event is going to be held on January 4th. That is the first Saturday in the new year, and it'll be held at the Home Depot in Vinings. And with that, I am done with my report. Do you have any questions?
Hey, Virginia, can you also leave your cooking oil curbside if it's in a sealed container?
You most certainly can, and we have those containers available at the recycling center, and Public Works also have those.
You mentioned IBM and what a great corporate partner that we have with them. Angie Bolton, who is with IBM, was recognized last week as a Smyrna Citizen of the Year, and very much deserving. She's given so much back to this community and worked hard, and she's just amazing.
We are very fortunate that Angie has chosen Smyrna to deliver her services and her talent. She does an incredible amount of work and very deserving. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments?
Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you, Virginia.
You're welcome.
Scott Stokes for Public Works.
Ken Vanderpool.
Got it. All right, Thanksgiving 28th, 29th of this month. So our sanitation schedule will be, if you pick you up on Monday, we'll pick you up on Monday. We'll pick you up on Tuesday. If you have Thursday and Friday pickups, we're going to pick everybody up on Wednesday, 27th. And unlike the fire department, we want you to fry your turkeys because we need your oil. As what we do with the oil, we make biodiesel out of it and we put it in our vehicles. So we need your oil. We pick it up at curbside. We'll pick it up at curbside. You can put it in any kind of container you want. Put it out with the recycling, and we'll pick it up on your recycling day. Well, Concord Road SPOST widening project. As you can, if you've been up and down that road, you don't want to go up and down that road. Probably for the next 2 weeks, we're going to have one lane closed going westbound. So there will be delays. So if you can stay away from Concord Road, please do, because it will be a mess. Ward Street, we've got a SPLOST project on that road, lane reduction and a median project. The piping work is almost done on the road. Expect the contractor to start his curbing work within the next 2 weeks. Atlanta Road median on the south side of Smyrna from Ridge Road back north to Concord Road. We've got some median work going on. One of the medians is the most southern median's complete, and we're actually curbing that second median this week. We're doing it in 2 phases. Phase 1 will be from Ridge Road to the Bronner property, and Phase 2 will be from the Bronner property to Concord Road. Campbell Road, we're doing a little curb work. Some curb is missing on that roadway. That curb work's about 50% complete. Kathy Lane, we've got a box culvert going in. That's about 55% complete. Box culvert is in. Contractor's backfilling that. Preparation to open that road back up so we can get some through traffic back on it. Reed Road drainage project, that's about 80% complete. All that lacks is the completion of the sidewalk that had to be taken out for the pipe extensions, and then the lining of the pipe. And then on Ann Road, we've got a storm drain replacement across that roadway, and that project's about 40% complete.
Thank you, Scott. I'll just ask you and Eric to make sure that the contractors on all of these projects, especially for the Thanksgiving holidays, make sure they're very aware of the signage and everything is put up to warn the citizens from out of town that we have construction and barricades where they are necessary.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, Scott, a lot of folks may not know, but we did get a grant to convert frying oil, to diesel fuel, really, and we use it in our vehicles. Scott was serious. I mean, if you're frying a turkey or whatever, we'll take that cooking oil and convert it to actual savings to the citizens. So
That's correct. And I think all the fire departments have. You can drop off cooking oil at the fire departments. We'll pick it up from there.
Yeah.
Recycling center, Public Works. If you need containers, call Public Works. We'll supply you containers. But like I said, if you want to put it in a milk jug, any kind of jug, put it out with recycling. It'll get picked up the day you recycle.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I yield.
Ms. Terry Nulowich.
Thank you, sir. There is not a report tonight from either finance or from community relations. I appreciate all the department heads who mentioned all the outstanding holiday events we have coming up, and thank you to the staff and to the residents who make these events so special and so unique to Smyrna. And I'm glad to hear that we will be having the Santa House again. There is no reason to mess around with going to a shopping mall to see Santa, because Santa is kind enough to pay us a visit here in Smyrna every year, and it is a wonderful experience. If you have small children or older children who want to go visit Santa, I highly encourage you to go visit Santa here in Smyrna at Aunt Fanny's Cabin, and he'll be here at the home for the holidays also. Again, the mayor is hosting the Update Smyrna information session this Wednesday, November 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. That's going to be here in City Hall. It'll be live on cable, it'll be live on the internet, and it'll be on demand on the internet, and you can access that through anything that can connect through to the internet. You can access that afterwards. You can submit your questions to Update Smyrna at smyrnaga.gov, and I'm very hopeful that the dialogue with regards to the proposal for Jonquil Plaza is going to continue. I want to offer congratulations to Angie Bolton. And if you fry those turkeys, those tasty, tasty turkeys, you can even put that oil right back in the jug that it came from. Make sure you cool it before you put it back in your jug. You can leave it by your curb. You can bring it to the recycling center, but you can turn it into fuel. So you no longer have to wonder what on earth you're going to do with all that peanut oil. And with that, I yield.
Miss Andrea Bluestein.
Mr. Sudworth, I'm sure you have a report.
I have a good report. This is a continuation of all the other good months that I've had this year. We're still running year over year about 4% ahead. Some of the interesting numbers that people may easily identify with. We've issued 209 new dwelling units so far this year. This time last year it was 173. So that's 36 more dwelling units. Inspections as a result have jumped from 7,600 to 10,000. Again, that's like a 23% increase in inspections, which is not unanticipated, given what we've talked about over the month. Site visits are up 15%, which in real numbers, that's over 550 additional site visits we've made this year. And in terms of just building permits, they're up 15% or 88 in real numbers. So when you add, there's 10 items that I look at on a consistent basis. When you add them all up, we're about 4% ahead of where we were last year. I expect these numbers to continue into next year, especially given the annexation we did tonight. Obviously, there were two other items on the agenda that came from my department that have been tabled that will also impact these numbers as well.
Thank you. I just want to wish each of you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. If you're traveling, travel safe. And we'll see you, I'm sure, a lot of you on December 2nd for our next council meeting. Thank you.
Miss Melanie Pritchett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As chairperson of the Vision Committee, we have some exciting news that's coming down the pike. It'll start in January. The Mayor and Council made a dedicated effort to make sure that we set money aside in our budget to have a Vision Committee. That committee is made up of Terry, Ron, Eric, and Ken Sudworth, and myself. And we have gone out for RFPs for companies that can facilitate the vision process. The vision process will include citizens. It will, and the company that we will hire will be the one who runs the show. It will be citizen input in meetings, it will be surveys, it will be mailings, it will be all kind of communication. And at the end of that process, we will know what the citizens of Smyrna want us to do and want Smyrna to look like in the future. We haven't done a vision before. We've done LCIs and comprehensive plans and all kinds of things. But this we're going to do. We won't start until January because everything is so busy with the holidays. So you'll be giving you updates and reports on where we're going and how we're doing. But it's really going to be an exciting time because the whole city is going to be participating if you choose. It's not something you have to do, but it's something you will have a choice for. And just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And thanks to staff and everybody who's worked so hard to bring these projects. I think this 80-acre rezoning and bringing it into the city is just going to be something that's really nice, and I'm looking forward to more building and all these lots that we have that we've been waiting 4 or 5 or 6 years to see things start. I think it's going to break loose this next year. And with that, I yield, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Eric Taylor, Scott Cochran, Mr. Terry Graham. We do not have a show cause hearing. Item 11, citizens input. For as long as I can remember, we have allowed citizens input. I'm going to say it again. Citizens input is a public comment period for folks to get up and to make comments. It is not a time to personally attack anybody. It's not a question and answer period. It's simply just citizens input. Mr. Cochran, you want to say anything as the parliamentarian of this group?
Oh, I'd be happy to. What you said is exactly true. Citizens input is a time for citizens to participate and to address the elected officials. It's not required. There's no law that says citizens input's got to be part of a council meeting. The city has invited comment through putting this on an agenda. A lot of jurisdictions don't have citizens input, or they have other times away from council meetings. Sometimes people in various jurisdictions use citizens input as a time to see themselves on TV, to instigate, to do things that really are counter to the purpose of it. So just with that in mind, it's a time to bring up legitimate concerns dealing with the city and not to make personal attacks or to spread false information. Just simple as that. And I'm happy to try to regulate it, within as much as possible. A lot of governments have less citizens input or no citizens input. Is that pretty much?
Yep. We have 3 people signed up. Larissa Edwards, 304 Hickory Springs Drive, 30082.
Good evening. First off, I'd like to let everyone know that this meeting is not being streamed live on the internet this evening. It's totally black for whatever reason. This is like the 3rd or the 4th communication interruption that I've heard of, so just want to let you guys know that so that you can try to clear that up. Secondly, I am not here to be seen on TV. It's the last reason why I'm here. I am here to educate the leaders of Smyrna about how to be rightful leaders and how not to put personal interests, I guess, in front of what needs to be done with the public. Now, I don't know if you're in my medical record, Mr. Mayor, but you made a comment about me being sick last meeting. Very sick. And that's offensive. You're speaking out of opinion. I'm speaking out of fact. And you can't get mad at me if you have a problem with anything, Mr. Mayor. Take it up with my father, because he's definitely waiting to hear from you. Okay? Now, I'm very appalled at the city council, and it was voted in 7-0, if I'm not mistaken. And here's some more simple math, and this is a little bit more advanced, but I'm going to get a little bit advanced on you guys. This is not Larissa's opinion. This is math. Monetary gain over time is Satan's formula. I heard Mr. Lenica say the annexation area, it's not if it's going to be flooded, it's when. If you have 1,700 homes coming in, you got to have probably more than one person in each home. That's a lot of people to get out in a time of flood. But I didn't hear anybody, do the math. Am I the only person in here who can count? One person's life is worth more than $300 million or whatever it was the developer, whatever number he was throwing around. But I'm wrong. I'm crazy. I'm saying something that's not in the interest of Smyrna. You got to be kidding me. I do want to thank the fire department because I don't believe you need monetary gain to be the only recognized fire department with FEMA. And I don't think you need monetary gain to be the best police department in Atlanta, arguably maybe some other areas as well. You guys have a lot to learn about monetary gain and time. I wish you have a nice holiday. You guys have a lot to think about. It's not about money. It's about doing what's right. Good evening.
John Clifton Stamps, 2286 Leaf Moore Drive. It's like Decatur, Georgia. He was here for the Riverview. How about Sandra Chase? I think she was here for the Jonquil development. So that's not. Okay, if there's no other business to be brought before this body, I declare this meeting adjourned at 9:22.